You're listening to episode 63 of Burning Brightly. Stop second guessing your niche. This is Burning Brightly, a podcast for Christian moms who are feeling called to build a business and share their light with the world. I'm Bonnie Wiscombe, a life coach, mom, and entrepreneur, and I'm honored to be your guide as you face this business building adventure full of highs, lows, and everything in between. This is where we help each other find the courage to shine. Hey there, business buddy. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about niche and why it's important and why you need to stop second guessing it. Because if you are a coach or a content creator, I can guarantee you have had incessant drama, maybe not incessant, but at least some drama around choosing and sticking with a niche that works for you. Which, let me just say up front, some drama is totally normal, so don't judge yourself. But today, we are going to dive into niche. We're going to talk about what you're good at, what people want from you, what you can monetize, what might be too broad of a niche or what's too narrow, and when you might want to reevaluate the niche that you have already chosen. Let's do this. First of all, what the heck is a niche? Niche, you can call it niche. I don't know. I like niche. It sounds very French. It is just a segment in the market. That means if you are a weight loss coach, your segment might be women over 50 who deal with hormonal issues. If you are in the DIY space and your market is crafts or sewing, then maybe your niche, your segment could be beginning knitters. You're going to show them how to do some beginning stitches. If you are a YouTuber who is a mechanic and you teach people how to work on their cars, your segment or niche might be retired men who are on a budget who need to fix their cars. So there's so many ways of choosing a specific segment or niche within a much larger market. And I think that's probably why a lot of people struggle with it. There are 1,000,001 niches to choose in any given market. So it can feel very daunting. It can feel overwhelming. It can feel also like a high pressure situation where if I make the wrong decision, my business is going to fail. Not necessarily. I'm going to talk to you about how we're going to do it smart and in a way that is going to teach you along the process of building your business. Now, it is true that you want to choose a segment of the market or a niche carefully so that you don't put a ton of time and effort into your business and end up chasing an area that's actually not marketable or not very profitable, or that isn't a good match for you. You might find a niche that you're actually really good at and is really profitable, but it doesn't end up working well for you for some other reason. We'll talk about the 3 main things you need to look for in a niche. In the end, however, you're probably going to guess what I'm going to say next. There's only one way to know if your niche will work. Can you guess? Hint, it's not asking a professional. It's not asking friends. It's not changing it incessantly until you just feel good about it. It's testing it. It's getting out into the world, out into the market, and testing to see if people resonate with that niche. And, side note, sticking with it long enough to get good data. So you can't tell 3 people, hey, I'm a mechanic YouTuber who helps men over 50 learn how to fix their cars on a budget. You can't tell 3 people that. And then when they're not interested, think, oh, this is a crappy niche. Nobody's going to pay attention to my videos. No, you have to stick with it long enough and talk to enough people who could potentially be your audience, your market, to get some feedback and get some data points. So we'll talk a little bit more about testing as well. But first of all, we are going to look at those 3 main things that a great niche should have. I like to look at a perfect niche as sort of an intersection of these 3 areas. The first one is passion. What are you excited about? So your passion. The second one is it profitable? Can you make money off this niche? And the third one is proficiency. Are you any good at it? Now, these 3 Ps I borrowed from YouTuber Sean Cannell. He has an awesome couple of channels teaching people how to grow their YouTube. If you haven't checked him out yet, you totally should if you're interested in YouTube. But I love that he used some alliteration for these 3 areas that make a niche a perfect niche. Passion, profit, proficiency. Is it something you like? Please do not pick a segment of your market that is annoying to you or that bugs you or that you can't see yourself talking about over and over and over again for months and years on end. Pick something you love and something you're really passionate about. So there are a lot of things I love that I don't really want to talk about incessantly. But business is something I'm super passionate about. Not only do I love it, but I could talk about it all day long. So that's one of the reasons I chose it. Profit. Are there people out there who are hurting enough? I say hurting, but I mean uncomfortable enough that they're willing to pay good money to solve this problem. In order for a niche or a segment of the market to be profitable, there has to be a lot of people with a big problem. And those people also have to have money to solve the problem. Sometimes I see people marketing to a segment of the population that is stereotypically underfunded. For example, people who are unemployed. A lot of people have some great tips for teaching people how to fix their resume and get a great job. But if people are unemployed, how much can you realistically charge for your services? They're probably watching their budget. Now, that's a stereotype, of course, but notice that. Is this a problem that my people can afford to solve because I want to charge them money for my expertise? And then finally, proficiency. Is it something you're actually good at? Let me just say this. Being proficient does not mean you have to know everything. Being proficient does not mean you have to have a PhD in it or any sort of degree. It doesn't even mean that you have to already have had a ton of success in it, but you have to know enough to get your audience where they want to go. You have to give them just one small transformation. So for example, if you're a weight loss coach or content creator, but you still struggle with your weight sometimes, is that a good place for you to be, teaching other people how to lose weight? Well, yeah, if you've gotten a transformation, you don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to never fluctuate with your weight to teach other people how to get the same transformation you had. In fact, I would argue that if you still struggle in the area where you help people, you are way more relatable than someone who's quote unquote perfect at it. I would much rather learn how to lose weight from someone who has done it over and over because they're a human being who struggles with weight gain sometimes like I do, than someone who's never struggled with it, because it's a little bit hard for me to understand that they even know what I'm going through. So embrace your own challenges and acknowledge that proficiency does not equal perfection. Ooh, that was good. Let's say it again. Proficiency does not equal perfection. Once again, the three areas that a great niche has to intersect in is profit, passion, and proficiency. I love to look at these like a Venn diagram. So you have things you're passionate about, things that could bring in profit for you, and things that you're proficient at. But where do all those three meet in the middle? You want your niche right there in the center of that Venn diagram. So we have thought about what we're good at, what would make us money, what we really love doing, and we're still dragging our feet on picking a niche, or we've picked a couple of them and we just can't stick with one. Well, here's the bad news of this episode. If you're waiting for a sign from heaven or wherever about what the perfect niche is, it's not going to come. You need to just pick one. I have another episode that I am planning for you guys all about big girl boss energy, okay? How to put on your big girl pants and make decisions in your business. Sometimes we hesitate to do this, especially as women. Well, I just don't know what the right decision is. I don't want to stereotype, but I think men are generally better at this, just picking something and going with it. We like to overanalyze a lot. Not always, but often. So please stop overanalyzing and just pick one. Here's why. What's the one way to find out whether or not you have the right niche for you? To test it. And so the longer we think and spin and worry about it, that's time and energy we are wasting that could be put into the testing process. So just pick one today and then work it into an elevator pitch. Now, an elevator pitch is the number one thing I teach my clients to do if they don't have one yet. And what that is just a one single line that they tell people to explain how they can help them. So it also has 3 points to it. It looks like what problem you solve, how you solve it, and what result they can expect. So let's go back to the mechanic on YouTube. He's choosing men over 50 on a budget to target. He's going to teach them how to fix their cars without spending a ton of money. So what problem is it? They're fixing their cars. Maybe they have a broken down car, or maybe they have a classic car they've always wanted to fix up and get running. He is going to solve it by posting YouTube videos with really simple tutorials. And what's the result they can expect? They can expect to get their car up and running on a budget. Fantastic. So let's try another example. You are in the DIY space and you're going to be teaching beginning knitters how to get started with this fun new hobby they've been wanting to try for a while. What problem do you solve? Well, you help them cut through the chaos of confusion and overwhelm and get started knitting. You solve it, I don't know, however you want to solve it. Maybe you're going to do blog posts or YouTube videos or live video tutorials on Facebook. You get to decide the avenue for solving that problem, and the result they can expect is to confidently be able to, knit a scarf? What's a simple beginner project you can give them and kind of promise them that result after working with you? So that's how you create that elevator pitch. Once you've picked a niche, work it into that elevator pitch. What's the problem they have? How do you solve it? And what result will they get at the end? And then once you pick that elevator pitch, you create that, you put it everywhere. On your social profiles, in your email footer, on your website, make a bumper sticker. I don't care. Anywhere that people are going to be looking, put that elevator pitch there. Anywhere you can think of. And then start telling people in person. Now, let me reassure you, this does not have to be spammy. You don't have to be that person who nobody ever wants to talk to because she's always talking about her business. But if someone asks you what you do, please don't say, I'm a life coach. Or please don't say, I sell t-shirts. That is a perfect opportunity to use your elevator pitch and craft it in a way that does not sound spammy. So instead of saying, I'm a life coach, you could say, oh, I'm a life coach who helps ADHD moms get organized. That's not salesy. You're just telling them specifically what you do. Because here's the difference. If I tell my neighbor I'm a life coach, she walks away going, great, I have no idea what that is. Or, yeah, I've heard of those. That's kind of weird. Or, that lady's kids are crazy. Where does she get off telling people how to live their life? I'm sure they think that about me. Point being, when we share our elevator pitch, we are essentially giving a little nugget of information to people we talk to so they can pass it on. So if I say I'm a life coach and my neighbor's like, nods, okay, great, I don't know what that means. She can't then spread the word about what I do. But if I say I'm a life coach who helps ADHD moms get organized, and she immediately thinks of her best friend's daughter who has ADHD and is drowning in a to-do list and thinks, oh, I bet Sarah could use her. Or I bet Brittany might be interested in that. Do you see? The whole point of having a great elevator pitch and a great niche is so people self-identify, either self-identify or immediately think of someone else that could use your expertise. Here's another example. Instead of saying, I sell t-shirts, which your neighbor or friend is going to be like, that's great, good for you. What if you said, I sell snarky graphic tees for Gen Xers? Immediately, did you think of a Gen Xer who would like a snarky graphic tee? Yeah. Immediately, your brain goes to work starting to find a person that might like that or that might need that. That's what happens with a really useful niche. The reality is there's no way you can talk to hundreds and thousands of people every day about your niche, unless you have a post that goes viral or something. But the more people you talk to and tell them specifically what you do with a really great niche, then they can go out and be your marketing for you. Then next time your neighbor hears about an ADHD mom who is really stressed out and living in chaos, she's going to go, wait a minute. Wasn't it Bonnie that said that she coached people like this? I'm going to put those two in contact. And that's how networking works. That's how you spread the word, is because you tell people exactly what it is you do. All right, so that's the first thing you do. You create an elevator pitch with this specific niche. The second thing you do, now remember, this is still testing phase. We're still not 100% sure this is the right niche for us, so we're still testing. The second thing we do is we gauge people's reactions. A good niche inside that elevator pitch that we just talked about has one goal only. Do you know what it is? It's to attract or repel. Have you guys ever played with magnets? And when you connect them the right way, they stick together. And when you flip one over, they repel each other. It's such a cool force. That's what you want your elevator pitch, your niche, to do. Now, why would we want to repel people? Because we don't want to work with people that we aren't right for. We don't want clients that we can't help, and they don't want to waste their time and money with us either. So if we don't have people that we are not for, then we're not going to have anybody that we are for. I know this is kind of tricky to think. We want to be able to help everyone. The fact of the matter is we can't. I cannot help everyone with their business. Everyone doesn't even want a business. Everyone's business isn't in an area that I can help with, but there are specific businesses I can help with. So what does attracting or repelling people with this niche look like? You want people to light up, their faces to light up, or even make a face when you tell them. So if I say I sell snarky graphic tees for Gen Xers, a boomer is probably going to be like, ew, that's not for me. Great. Now I know you are not my target audience. No big deal. Hey, do you have a kid who's a Gen Xer? Or do you have a grandkid who's a Gen Xer? Maybe they want my t-shirts. Can I pass on my card? Look for people's reactions when you tell them what you do. Do they immediately light up and think, oh my gosh, that's for me? Or do they make a face and think that's not for me? In my experience, the worst thing that can happen when you tell people your niche is for someone's face to just glaze over and they blithely say, isn't that nice? You don't want, isn't that nice? You want people to sit up and pay attention or to be repelled and say, that's not for me. I noticed this when I picked my current niche because I would get people immediately saying, oh my gosh, my sister needs you. My sister is a coach and she doesn't know how to get clients. She needs you. Or they would say, oh, that's not for me. I already have clients, or I'm not a coach or a content creator or whatever. So please don't be afraid to not be right for some people. That is important. Not every grocery store is right for you. Not every airline is right for you. Not every type of decor is right for your home. And not every coach or content creator is right for every person. I think of a bad niche kind of like vanilla ice cream. Everyone likes vanilla fine, right? I mean, does anybody hate vanilla? I don't think so. But does anyone love it? I also don't think so. I've never met anyone that's just obsessed with vanilla ice cream. But what about strawberry or chocolate or rocky road or peanut butter crunch? Yeah, people are obsessed with those specific flavors. So you need to set aside any people-pleasing tendencies you might have and focus on the people who are going to be obsessed with you. You are going to be like rocky road for them because you're exactly what they need and want. Don't be vanilla. You don't want to be for everybody. You want to be for those that really need what you do. So that first step was pick a niche, create an elevator pitch around it. The second one is to gauge people's reactions and make sure it's attracting and or repelling people. And then the third, get a little bit of feedback. We're not going to get stuck in feedback. We're not going to just keep asking people incessantly and never actually commit. But if you are telling people what you do and you're still not getting good reactions out of at least some of them, then ask why. Let's go back to the coach who helps ADHD moms get more organized. Let's say you know a friend who wants to get more organized and she seems a little bit scattered, but she doesn't resonate with your niche or with your pitch. Ask them why. Now you have to be sensitive to this, right? Especially in some areas like weight loss. Don't go assuming your friends want to lose weight and ask them about it. That might not be great. But if you've had a friend or a colleague or someone tell you that they struggle with something and that's a niche that you want to help people with, ask them for feedback. Does this pitch sound good to you? Does this sound appealing? Would you click on something like this? Would you ask me for more information? And maybe you just need to slightly shift. So in the organization sphere, maybe you need to focus on teaching people how to organize themselves. Or maybe they just want to hire it out. Maybe you've been teaching it and instead they just want an organizer to do it for them. Or maybe you'll learn that people have taken organizing courses before and then they've just slid back into chaos and so they're kind of jaded. Or maybe they just lack belief in themselves to be able to organize that garage that just seems so overwhelming. By sharing our niche and our elevator pitch as much as we can and getting that feedback, we can tweak it just a little bit, tweak our messaging just a tinge until we are really attracting the right kind of people. But again, like I said, don't get stuck in the feedback phase. You can pick literally any niche, ask just a few potential clients about it, a few people you think might be a good fit, and then just go. Feedback will come as you go. So I'm constantly shifting my positioning a little bit. I'm tweaking my messaging a little bit, but I'm not changing my entire niche again. I'm just shifting how I say things a little bit as I get more feedback. So let me tell you my story of choosing my niche as a coach. I've had multiple online businesses, and so I've had to do this process multiple times. But as a coach, I decided that because I'd been a business owner for so long, I wanted to help other moms start businesses, specifically stay-at-home moms. So maybe their kids were going to school or leaving home, and they were ready to start a business they'd been dreaming about. Here was the problem. I very quickly learned through this process I'm telling you about, talking to people, getting some feedback, putting things out there and seeing how it was received. I learned that most stay-at-home moms thought that maybe someday they'd like to start a business. Like maybe someday they'd like to run a marathon or hike the Grand Canyon or maybe try being a redhead sometime. There was no real motivation for it. There was no real pain point. Most of them had a spouse who was bringing in income for them, and the business idea was just kind of a fun hobby idea. It wasn't a true discomfort that they needed to get out of. Instead, I had to learn how to find people who were really uncomfortable and needed business help right now, not someday down the line. So instead of helping stay-at-home moms start any business, I switched to helping certified coaches who weren't yet making any money. They'd already spent money on certification, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. They had already dreamed of a successful coaching biz, but they couldn't get there alone. They didn't have the business skills necessary. And immediately, I got good results. When I switched my elevator pitch to coaches who were certified and weren't yet making money, it was almost night and day the responses I got. Some people immediately resonated with, oh, I need your help so bad. That's me, right? They kind of virtually raised their hand and said, yes, yes. Tell me how I can work with you. Sometimes what happens is we get really, really good at what we do and we can't see the need in a way that people are talking about it. Here's an example of that. I have a friend who is a phenomenal finance coach. And when she chose her niche, she was coming from a place of expertise. She had actually never struggled with money like her potential clients did. She had always been good with money. And so it was kind of a struggle for her to shift into that space of what these people needed. She knew she could help them. She just didn't know how to phrase it exactly. So she actually reached out. She did a great job of reaching out to lots of friends and acquaintances and asked around to see if she could find her ideal client avatar. She was looking for people who were making plenty of money, but still couldn't manage their money and were feeling kind of some shame around it. I was actually one of these people. And so we had a lot of calls and Marco Polo messages back and forth where she would pick my brain. It was so fun. I could just tell her everything that I was thinking about money and budgeting and managing it, and she would help me with her expertise. And then she was able to use my words in her marketing because she didn't know how people like me talked about money, but I did. So if this is you, you're really good at something and you're still struggling to kind of express it in a way that your ideal client might understand, then ask around and find someone who would fit that market and ask them to help you with some verbiage or with their perspective. Maybe you can exchange some free coaching in return, because there are people out there that would love to tell you how you can help them in order to get more specific. So reach out, ask around, get that feedback, but don't wait for all the feedback in the world before you get moving. All right, so those are the 3 steps to getting and choosing a niche that is fantastic. You want to just pick one, put it in an elevator pitch, put it everywhere, gauge people's reactions, and then get feedback while you're moving forward. Now, let's talk for a second about the narrowness of your niche. A lot of business experts talk about how your niche has to be super narrow and how you don't want to be too broad. Nobody's going to notice you if you're trying to talk to everybody, right? Kind of what we already discussed. But a lot of people get panicked about this step because they think that if they go from selling quote unquote fashion advice to maybe teaching postpartum moms how to dress their new body, that they're going to lose audience. In reality, it's kind of the opposite. You're actually not narrowing your audience, you're calling them out. So there might be 50 million women out there that need fashion advice or feel like they need fashion advice, but they all need different things. So how are you going to teach them fashion advice if you don't actually know what they need? Fashion advice is way too broad. You don't know if they need help dressing a certain type of body, or do they need help dressing on a budget, or do they need help because they're older and they don't understand the trends? There's way too many areas that you could help them in. But when you get specific, like teaching postpartum moms how to dress their new body after baby, you are calling those people out and they can then opt into your audience. So think for a second about ads that you may have seen on Facebook or on Google or somewhere, or posts that have really resonated with you. If you saw a post that was like, hey, feeling frumpy, I can help you look stylish. You might stop and think, oh yeah, I'd like to look more stylish. But what if instead you were a postpartum mom and you saw a post that said, hey, if you've had a baby in the last year and are feeling frumpy, I can show you how to dress that new body. Whoa, all of a sudden, I'm way more interested. Because I know you can help me. You already told me my problem. My problem is that I am feeling frumpy because I have a body I don't really recognize. And I haven't dressed in normal clothes in over 9 months. I've been wearing maternity clothes. So calling out the person's problem, telling them you can help them in the most specific way you can, that will guarantee a click. So having this great niche causes your perfect audience to identify themselves. And like I said, basically raise their hands and say, that's me. I need your help because I can tell you get me. All of us have this sense of belonging that we need. That is human nature. We want to belong. So the more details we can give our audience about themselves, the more we will convince them that they belong with us. They belong into our audience. They will opt into working with us because they feel like this is their tribe. So here's a niche analogy for you guys. Let's say everyone is telling you that you have to go travel Italy. And so you make it to the Italian border and you cross, but it's somewhere out in the middle of a field with nothing around. And you're looking around going, I don't see the Colosseum. I don't see ruins. I don't see gelato. This place is crap. I don't want to be here. Because you don't have a path. You don't know if you're where you belong. Conversely, you show up to the Rome airport with an itinerary and a guide, and they take you all the places you've heard about, and you get to experience the best that Rome has to offer. That is what you're doing for your people. Just walking in the back door to some country's border is kind of like saying, sure, I can help you with weight loss. Sure, I can help you with fashion. You're not giving them an actual path or showing them that they are where they belong. You need to show them they're where they belong by telling them specifically what their problem is and how you're going to help them. Speak in their language. And if you don't know their language, go out and find out. Ask a bunch of people until you learn their language and start speaking in it so they know immediately that's the person for me. and they're going to jump in and you guys are going to have a great working relationship. So I hope you feel a little bit more confident about choosing and sticking with a niche. If you have more questions about niche, come join me for office hours. They happen every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And I'll include the link for that in the show notes. You can come ask me any questions. Often there's a couple of us on there just brainstorming business stuff. And I'd be happy to talk you through your niche and see if you have it nailed down in a way that is going to serve you best. Thanks for listening, friends. We'll talk next week. Are you ready to start or grow your dream business? Click the link in the show notes to download the free starter guide to building a business or to schedule a free coaching call with me. And if you loved this episode, don't forget to leave a review and share it with a friend who might be feeling the call to burn a little brighter.